three shots. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start with the Q&A. Thank you, everybody, for being here. What I would ask, since we're running behind schedule, that's why you got your break cut short, is to be aware of the way you're asking a question, meaning if you compound the question, it can be difficult for the person answering the question to answer it. So just make sure that your question is a straightforward question. And then we will be passing it on to other people to ask questions. We will be going until 12:30. So if you have a question, go ahead and raise your hand, and then we will bring you the microphone. So I saw Reverend Catherine Sachs. Did you want to test your mic?
Testing, testing.
Testing, testing.
Testing, you're good.
You're good. Okay.
Hello.
There we go, we're starting.
Thank you. Hi, Reverend Fran and Reverend Geri. Because we have not experienced co-ministry, can you please describe for us how would that work? How would you divide up the duties? How does it work when you disagree? Thank you.
Now, you did ask 3 questions, you know.
I know.
Okay,
Of course.
Okay.
One of the things that I can say in response to your question 1 is that Reverend Geri and I have spent quite a considerable amount of time talking about our answers to that question that may be many pages long. However, what I can say is that one of the ways we divided up some of the tasks is we identified our own strengths that we perceive and decided that that would be an emphasis that we would like to each have, and there are many things that we would be working on together. We also recognize how important it is for us to meet on a regular basis so that each issue, whether it's my strength or her strength, will be talked about by both of us and come up with some kind of recommendations or strategies that we can both agree upon. The last point that I want to make related to the first question that you asked is that Reverend Geri and I have known each other since 2012. And so since we've been in a book club together and so forth, we've kind of found out that we have very few disagreements. I'm not saying that living together might not create some, but I'm saying that our history has been fairly long, and so this is not a new relationship. And it seems that one of the things that we're good at is kind of raising a question and stating a position and then being able to say, and this is how I could change based on what you just said.
Thank you. Am I on? Oh, yes. Okay. Just a moment, Tom. I just wanted to add to that. Yes, I'm in total agreement, and we have spent much time collaborating on how our ministry will look as 2 ministers sharing one ministry. And I think that it is such a positive plus because of Reverend FranCione's strengths and my own strengths, and they're very different, and there are some are very much the same. So I think we bring a very collaborative, unifying opportunity to our congregation because of who we are and how we show up. Is that good? Okay, thank you. Tom.
Hi, how do you plan to deal with outreach to bring more families, children, teenagers into this community? How would you use the resources we have here, both human and the facilities, and also things that you would do out in the greater community?
Thank you for that question, Tom. That's one that is a very high priority for us, youth and family. We've talked a great deal about it. Outreach into the community, various ways to do that, showing up at programs, providing literature out into the community, maybe a mailer sharing about our youth and family program and about our center as a whole, some marketing aspect of it, but then some real being present to what areas of our community we can get involved in individually and as a collective, as a membership. And Reverend FranCione has some great ideas regarding that as well.
One of the things that occurred 3 years ago when I was staff minister here and having oversight of the social uplift program that we started here at that particular time, Larry Williams and I spent time going to meetings of activities that were in the community. People without homes, we attended some of those meetings, meetings of the people who were their neighbors and having some concern, but they also began to hear who we are, and attending those meetings could aid in helping some of what you're talking about. Also, part of that social uplift program, I went over to Merritt College, where you have young adults there, and invited some of the people there to come speak to us. And they did one time when we had about 40 members of our community sitting around as you are, and a young man and the director of the Martin Luther King Jr. Freedom Center at Merritt College came. So we began to think about ways in which we could engage in some of their activities, because we thought some of their activities would help us to begin to expand our relationships with families and with youth as well. And so those are just two of the ways that come to my mind. In addition to that, we went to city council meetings, and we began to find if we engage in the community itself with some of the activity, it seems to me people would get to know us not only by our names, but also by the spiritual community that we identify with, and that they could begin to see how brilliant we are and want to be among us.
So Tom, I'd like to add to that too. For example, this Pride event in Alameda was all thousands of young people with children and dogs, and it was very vibrant and alive, and we were able to share about our center in a venue such as that. So that might be another way to engage people to find out about us. Yes.
Hello, I'm Karen Peterson, and for anybody who doesn't know, a practitioner here.
You can take your mask off. I
thank you,
can't
thank you.
understand you.
Sorry, okay. I'm Karen Peterson, all right, if you don't know me. So I'm curious as to how on every Sunday, how are we going to have both of you? Are we going to have one of you? How are you going to divide up the Sundays if that's the case?
What I can say is how we can divide up. Some of that will be answered if you choose to hire us, because one of the things I don't like to do is overthink something. But one of the things that we've had conversations about is that it might be every other Sunday that one of us speaks. We probably wouldn't be doing the tag team as we did today on a regular basis, but maybe from time to time. But it seemed to us if we were saying that, let's say first and third Sunday FranCione speaks, and second and fourth Sunday Reverend Geri speaks, and then we also thought about the possibility of having a youth ministry person speak on the fifth Sunday. So we've had that conversation. Nothing's firm about what we just said, but that's the way we begin having conversations, so that we'd be sharing the pulpit, but not necessarily always tag teaming.
Thank you.
And also, we would like to continue with our practitioner Sundays as well quarterly, and so we would allow that to that participation to occur with maybe one of our Sundays occasionally. As far as office and how we're going to work together, I know that we will be here for 4 days a week and on Sundays. I know that we will fill a full-time position between the two of us, and that's yet to unfold as we explore this process.
So Robert and then Laura.
Hi, it's Robert. I wanted to preface my question just by thanking you, Geri. Can you hear me?
Thank you, Robert. Yeah.
Can you hear me now? Yeah. I wanted to preface my question by thanking you, Geri, for what you've done for the community over the past couple of years in just really being a steadfast, just a rock for, the transitions that we've gone through with losing Reverend Jeff and the pandemic and everything else. And we really appreciate that, and I personally appreciate the support you gave me while I was on the Board of Trustees. So having said that, there are a lot of strong candidates for the senior minister position. And what I'm curious about is if you're not selected, how do you see your relationship to OCSL going forward?
Thank you for that question, because Robert, what I want to say and what I've been declaring all along through this process is that I am completely unattached. All I want is the right and perfect outcome for this center, because this is my spiritual home. And I know that I have no power over it, that this is a divine activity in the mind of spirit, and what comes forth will be for our highest good. And I'm standing in that truth. Now, I hope to still be able to be invited along to support our community, because it is my spiritual home. We'll see how that unfolds. I would hope that that would be an opportunity for me to continue to serve, because I stepped in here in 1999 in service and never stopped. So there you go.
Okay, Laura?
Hi, Reverend Geri and Reverend FranCione. Thank you for your inspirational talk today. It was a good reminder. I'm curious if you're selected as our new co-ministers, what would be your top 3 priorities to accomplish during the first year?
I can say one of my top priorities would be, and I mentioned this yesterday when I met with small groups yesterday, spending time with different groups of people, which is what I do right now at East Bay Church as an interim minister, and listening a lot to some of the priorities of the different groups, because it seems to me to be responsive to the people who are already serving before we try to establish any other kind of policy would be essential. And so my belief is that you find out more about what's going on now, what's working and what people perceive is not working, so that we are making any decisions and taking any actions based on input from the community, because it seems to me we don't want to make an assumption about what needs to happen without having the input. Geri's been around more, but I've been away for about 3 years,
So I'm in total agreement with that. And of course, we have broader ideas and thoughts about youth and family and education and outreach and growing our community, filling our center. So, thank you.
Yeah, hi, my name's John. And I guess it's sort of off of his question.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm sort of bouncing off that question, but we've had the other candidates come in, and not to critique like kind of the last answer, but they all kind of said like, oh, well, I'll have to come and assess and talk to people and figure out what we're gonna do and add or change. And you guys have actually been with the community for a while. You're involved, you know the other people who work here and at the office and the other volunteers. You've been here for years. So I'm wondering, you must already have some specific ideas of what you wanna add or change or take away or build. I would love to know what you already have in mind for what you would do, because you have the privilege of already being here, feet on the ground. What do you already see? Oh, I can't wait to get in and change this. That's what I'd love to know.
One of the things that I can tell you that I mentioned yesterday at the practitioner meeting, there was some concern about issues related to social justice and racism, et cetera. So I'm talking about a hard issue now for some. And because, not only because of my education and it being a part of my doctoral work, I'm also very interested in the work that I've done here before, and that's why I mentioned the Social Uplift Program, of dealing very directly with some of the issues related to cross-cultural relationships, inclusion, and so forth. And I would want to continue to expand upon that if I'm invited to return. As a professional, not.
And John, as you know, because we've worked together in marketing opportunities and continuing to grow our community through getting the word out, however that out pictures. I think Reverend FranCione and I have really big ideas, but yet we want to keep things status quo till we really find our way with each and every team and group and see what really is being called forth here.
Hi. Thank you again for your talks this morning. I was online and it came across very beautifully, and then I came in for this and for the workshop. I've asked this to the other candidates, and I came into this a little bit late, so I apologize if it was asked before I got here. My question is about your vision for culture and the arts at the center, and then specifically a choir, if you would envision us reforming a choir, but also theater and, other activities in that arena. Do you have any vision about that?
Was your statement culture and the arts? Mm-hmm.
Did you want me to go?
Well, I kept answering first, so I thought I would.
Okay. So, the vision is absolutely to thrive and grow with what is being called forth. Music is a huge part of our ministry, obviously. It really sets the tone, and it's just part of our Sunday service in a huge way. So whether that be individual artists like we have now or a choir, I think we're entertaining lots of different ideas. And so a choir is a big undertaking, first and foremost, financially and otherwise. So I think we're very open to that idea. I certainly am. Yeah. And the arts, well, the artist here. Let her speak to that.
I grew up in a church with a lot of music, and my mother liked to sing a lot, and she created choirs in the church that I grew up in. As I was reminded as recently as yesterday, I was part of a choral group ensemble that Cozy had here when I was actively participating as a member. I love choral groups, and I like instrumental groups and so forth. I was very excited, for example, when Kev Choice had the whole orchestra here that was not necessarily a part of Oakland Center, but was presented here, and many of us participated as listeners. That thrills me completely. Some of you know that I did work in the Arts and Conferences program at John F. Kennedy University and infuse art into my classes that I teach, the certificated classes that I teach, and some of the workshops. And I don't know if Sally's here, but Sally and I did a workshop here on creativity. Glad to see you, my partner. One Saturday. And so doing artwork in class settings, as well as, in addition to that, various kinds of artwork, not just my own passions, but I just did a wonderful workshop at East Bay Church, which was called Using Your Creative Genius, created by CSL, and I taught it for about 5 or 7 weeks, and got people who didn't consider themselves even wanting to do artwork, and we were just having lots of fun, as I hope we are doing this afternoon. But it seems to me part of the activity is reminding all of us that we have a creative genius within us, and that to tap into it doesn't just create a professional artist, but also allows us to use artistic and creative processes for doing whatever we're doing in our lives, keeping our body healthy, et cetera. So as far as I'm concerned, infusing those together would be absolutely valuable.
Okay, we have time for 1 or 2 more questions. Amy and then Deborah.
And theatrical work too, I forgot to say.
So maybe this will
That's part
come,
of what I do already.
maybe this will bring us right back to the beginning. I really appreciate your honesty and specific answers to the question. So I'm going to go back to something you answered earlier. And I would like you each to further explain what you see as the strength that you recognize in the other person. So, Reverend Geri, what you see as Reverend Francione's strengths, and vice versa.
Okay, I'll start. I see the wisdom of the ages right here before us. Brilliant mind, wise, long-term religious scientist. I see a master teacher. Educationally, I see Reverend FranCione as a master teacher. I've worked with her. I've taken courses with her and workshops to support her, and her teaching style is precise, and I really appreciate her for that. She has such a beautiful way of being. I mean, she's so transparent and open, and I appreciate that. And you know, I can rely on her for that true, someone asked, what do you do about conflict? Well, we haven't had conflict, but we respect one another so much, each other so much, that we can talk through anything, and we will. And I know we will as we continue on in our journey together. Gosh, there's so much. I don't even know where to begin. I have a checklist somewhere, for sure.
One of the things that I would like to say that from 2012 until 2020, Reverend Geri and I were in the same book club that was part of my Sacred Arts and Living Center's teaching chapter. Through that experience, more than anything else, I began to find on a regular basis, because the group met monthly, that Reverend Geri not only enjoyed reading, but began to identify herself as an ally of people who have been oppressed in the world. And we were not only talking about people of color, but we were also talking at that time, because so beautifully Reverend Sharon that was here helped us to know that some of the things that were going on in the early biblical days were still in her family, in terms of some of the challenges that people were actually ostracized. Leprosy would be, there's a new name for it right now, but that's what she was talking about. That's still in her family right now. So we began looking at what's going on in the nation right now in California related to some of a variety of issues, and began looking at that. And Reverend Geri was very much an ally to working with all the various and sundry groups to help us all recognize that we're to work together in unity and lift all of us up. So I really feel like that's one of the strengths that Reverend Geri has brought to my life, and has been consistently there as not only a person who would read the material and discuss it with us, but became the hostess for a lot of the meetings, because we found going to her house made it very easy for us to park and a whole bunch of things. And so she was also the host there. So that's one of the things that I enjoy the most. Reverend Geri has been a student of mine when I was teaching at Holmes Institute, as well as teaming with me as we did a regional convention for practitioners and ministers several years back. And then Reverend Joan invited our team to come work with all the practitioners that are here at OCSL. Reverend Geri was always a part of those experiences as a teacher, as a
student?
Yes.
It was exciting that I was able to participate in teaching Holmes Institute students before I became a student, just before I became a student.
Yeah.
So thank you, Reverend Francine.
So our interaction, I think, has really helped me to have a tremendous amount of respect for her, and a respect for her sense of integrity. And I didn't mention that before, but her willingness to say what was, I think, on her mind to the people who were present in ways that sometimes isn't comfortable to anybody. And so I thrill at knowing that when she invited me to work with her to do the possibility of doing this work together, I thought, what a wonderful opportunity that Spirit has given us to bring forth a world that works for everybody through the work that we've done together.
Thank you. And now Deborah will ask the last and final question.
Thank you. As I look over our covenant, you cover a lot of ground there. Can you hear me? Yeah? Good. As
I'm
I
having a
look
little difficulty, so it might be me. I'll lean forward.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Good. All right. As I look over our sacred covenant, you cover a lot of ground. But I also want to be in terms of equal, in terms of questioning. So I have heard this twice now, so I'm going to ask it of you. And that is, how are you guys with money in moving forward in our community? How would you handle it? How would you direct it? And also, how would you how are you in your own lives with money? I'm complete.
Was the question, how would we raise money?
No.
Oh, well, maybe I misunderstood, so I'm glad
It's
I
okay.
asked.
I can clarify. Thank you for the clarifying question. Well, let me put it this way. There was a question that was asked last time, and that is, do you know how to read a profit and loss statement? That's one. But the other thing that I really want to know is, because it is two of you, and we are working within a budget, how do you operate with money and budgets, and how would it be? How do you translate that into moving forward with our community?
I can say specifically, as the interim minister at East Bay Church, I am a voting member of the board. So I have to be looking at all the profit and loss statements that East Bay Church has been doing for the last 3 years in the way that I didn't have to do. I wasn't a part of the board. I'm a voting member, so I have to know and I have to make reports related to the various and sundry ministries that I have oversight there as well. In my personal life, I'm doing very well. But also, because we recognize there is a single salary that is offered, we already are looking at being part-time employees, if we're so invited, and therefore would be getting half of whatever that is.
So ditto on the money, you know, I'm a money magnet. Say that, I'm a money magnet. We all are. Finance is something that's been a big part of my life for 36 years, being CFO of a business that, you know, I'm looking at financial statements and budgeting all the time. I've been working with Dal Baker, our bookkeeper here, who is phenomenal, by the way, and I've been working with her every week. And so we meet, and we're approaching our budgeting time for 2023. So finance is very important, and so if that's a strength of mine, I share that information with Reverend FranCione as she shares her information from her strengths with me. So we're a collaborative effort, for sure.
Thank you very much, Reverend Geri Carter and Reverend Dr. FranCione. Appreciate your time. Now we are off to lunch, and then you'll meet the workshop.
Thank you all, and don't forget our workshop, because it's going to be introspective and it's going to be creative and fun. Okay.
Pardon me?
Thank you, Maureen. Thanks for keeping us on track so well.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The kitchen.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, that's good, and I think everybody's questions got answered, so we can cut it
Yeah.
pretty short. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
So there's no upper room?
Well, you know,
maybe.
Carmen, probably stand back there, but I doubt it, because I think people want to eat.
Yeah, I think they're hungry
and
tired.
I think that went well. Let's take your mic off.
I know that sometimes I have trouble hearing people.
No, I couldn't
Hi,
either.
how are you?
So well.